Chainsawman recently had its anime come out, and we're at the point where we got a taste of who the main trio is gonna be and what their relationship is gonna be looking like. I'm gonna be doing that, but also include the manga, because the manga is a lot cooler than where the anime is right now. I kind of also explain a whole bunch of shit from the Control Devil as well as the Gun Devil arc and the Chainsaw Man manga, so yeah, if you don't want to hear about that, then click off. With that being said, let's get straight into the video. We all know Denji at this point. He's the little bro of the group. The dude with a deadbeat father, both literally and figuratively, as well as a massive obsession with tits. He grew up in a slum where getting to eat one piece of bread for the next 24 hours was considered a good day. He has a fascination with a normal life, with normal life problems and other normal life things. One such being your awkward, bashful teenage romance, hence his obsession with the boobies. After merging with Pochita, he gets picked up by Makima. He falls in love, story progresses, and the entire story progresses from that point on. Denji wants to live a normal life and will happily become a pretty woman's slave if it meant living one. However, becoming Makima's slave isn't all that good of a thing because, she's not that good of a person. She never intended to become Denji's savior, rather she wanted to control him in order to get to little old Pochita. In order to accomplish this, she decided to make a little family for Denji. Devils only give people favors in the form of a contract, and so there was indeed a contract when Pochita merged with Denji. The contract was that Pochita becomes Denji's heart in exchange for Denji living out his dreams. Makima knows this and integrates Denji into a nice little family before tearing it all down. This led to the presumption that Denji wasn't allowed to live a normal life because it would only cause harm to those around him, thus breaking his contract with Pochita. I'll only be mentioning Aki briefly in this portion of the video because, it's Denji's part right now. But Makima manipulates Aki into becoming the Gun Fiend, and Denji has to kill the Gun Fiend. The Gun Devil is the implied antagonist of the story, and so once that Gun Devil comes back in the form of Aki, and Denji has to kill Aki, Denji is what I can best describe as a lost child, a lost boy, if you will. As he grew up in the middle of fucking nowhere, he's pretty fucking stupid. He knows nothing about the value of a life, emotions, let alone basic math. For the first time in Denji's little old life, he feels guilty towards something, being him killing Aki. Can't even eat a popsicle without throwing up over the thought of him killing best buddy Aki. You gross fuck. However, guess who swoops in? It's Makima. Makima is the mother figure in Denji's life, one which he never had. That's why whenever there's a problem, he just listens to what Makima has to say and obeys whatever she wants him to do. The death of Aki should have been a warning sign to Denji that following Makima wasn't the best of ideas, but again, he's a lost child. What is he gonna do? Obey his mama. And who's the mama? It's Makima. At the very beginning of the manga, Makima makes a promise to Denji that she'll grant him any one wish if he kills the Gun Devil. And guess what just happened? Denji now has this one wish that can be granted by Makima, considering that he now killed Aki. And instead of thinking to himself that Makima isn't that good of a person, he asks to become Makima's dog. The guilt of killing Aki has gotten to his head and he no longer wants to think about anything anymore. He doesn't want the responsibility of thinking for himself if it means that the people closest to him are gonna end up dead. Denji is a little kid at heart, and we can clearly tell by the fact that he never wants to take responsibility for anything he's ever done. Although a lot has gone down since the show began, Denji at this point still hasn't gone through the maturity process that normal teenagers go through, where they realize that their own actions have their own consequences, and they need to own up to their actions, say they're wrong. Instead of learning from his past failures, he decides to unload all that failure onto Makima. And so, he asks to become her dog. Someone who can just live life being told what to do and being rewarded for it. However, Makima is not 100% sure that Denji's all on board for this idea, and so tests his conviction through power. It happens to be Denji's birthday that day, and Makima invites Power over and tells her to bring a birthday cake. At this point, Makima lets everyone know that she's not a good person, and she's never been a good person. When Power arrives at the front door and she rings the doorbell, Makima straight up tells Denji that she's going to kill Power if he opens that door. Considering that Aki is now dead, it should be very clear to Denji that this isn't no joke. He's taken off guard by this, and even though it's against his judgment, as well as the judgment of the inner voice inside the spooky magical door, he opens the fucking door. What a fucking idiot. But yeah, lo and behold, Power with a birthday cake is there. And yeah. At this point, Denji's going through a mental breakdown pretty much. And he asks Makima if he's in a dream. She laughs. Bitch ass mother. Makima at this point knows that Denji's already in the palm of her hand, and so reveals her entire grand plan to him. This is where Makima reveals to Denji that Denji's father didn't kill himself. The father was an alcoholic and would have beat the shit out of Denji, to death even, if he didn't fight back. And this led to Denji killing his own father. However, this memory is locked up behind an inner door inside Denji's mind because he wanted to preserve the thought that a normal life was indeed in reach, and killing your dad isn't really part of a normal life, is it now? She then brings up how Denji's inability to mature and grow up in a climate where he definitely kinda fucking had to, led to the death of both Power and Aki. All of this is mentioned to Denji in order to convince him that he doesn't deserve a normal life. Denji is still a child who doesn't have the ability to properly think for himself in the most logical of ways, represented by this panel, where Makima's talking to little kid Denji. Denji at this point is at the lowest he's ever been. He doesn't even think that he deserves a normal life, and so the contract between him and Pochita is slowly tearing apart. Soon later, Makima gets ambushed by Kishibe and co, and guess who shows up to save her? Denji revs up his chainsaw, but with a newfound power, easily dispatches all the forces being sent at him. What I think about the form is that the form is an embodiment of Denji's desires, whether it be his desire to eat a proper cheeseburger, or his desire to go hang out and have a date for once, his desire to become Makima's dog and protect her at all costs. However, that little pep talk Makima had with him earlier finally made him realize that Makima is not that good of a person. He finally sees through Makima's gaslighting, and with the help of Kishibe, is able to eliminate her for good. Him finally seeing through Makima's gaslighting was where Denji truly grows up. He needs to be the one to take responsibility of his own life. Makima ends up being reincarnated as a little kid. Kishibe hands over the little kid to Denji. Denji realizes that this little control devil is like him from the past. A little kid who needs the guidance of a proper parental figure, and he knows exactly how not to do that, considering that he was the consequence of not having the right people guide you. And so yeah, takes it upon himself to take care of the kid. From someone who was driven by nothing but tits, to someone who can properly take care of a child and realize that it's his responsibility to do so. Man, it's going up a lot, man. I don't care, I'm emotional. Yeah, but with that aside, let's get to Power. Power is the wild card of the trio. She's brash, bold, and not hygienic. Also the blood devil. Not hygienic once again. We don't know much about her past, but we do know a lot of who she is as of now. She don't shower. She don't flush the toilet. She throws her food around. She may as well be a 4-year-old, because no one would want her around if she didn't have pretty privilege. If she was a fat lard and also ugly, she'd be the most hated character in the show. Back to, stuff that actually, She's the blood devil, and so she can conjure up weapons made out of blood. She can heal those around her with blood, and she can also heal herself with, you guessed it, blood. Oh, and she can also get a power boost by drinking said blood. Get it? A power boost! She doesn't trust humans or devils. She only really trusts this pet cat that she has, who doesn't play much of a role past the first arc, but, she's there. Or he's there. I don't know. Point in case, she doesn't trust jack shit besides Meowie. But, character development happens. She starts to realize that not all humans are poo stains. One example of this is her relationship with Denji. Not that kind of relationship, but more of a sibling kind of. By the end of the story, those two are pretty much siblings. So yeah, not in a love way. Unless you're from Alabama. I'm gonna take a quick pause right here to mention how cool the Darkness Devil is. If you're scared of something, there's a devil for it. And how strong that devil is directly correlates with how many people and how afraid people are of said thing. This concept is taken to its maximum with primal devils. Devils that embody Human nature. Humans are programmed to fear certain things. It's our primal instinct to do so. One such thing being darkness. Not one human on this planet has ever not had a fear of the dark at one point in their lives. It's a primal fear, hence the name Primal Devil, and Darkness Devil is the first of hopefully many. But yeah, back to Power. Power eventually meets the Darkness Devil alongside the cast and is deathly afraid of it. It's gotten to the point where she can't even live inside her own home without being paranoid, and so she even has to take baths with Denji of all people. And guess what? Nothing happens. At this point, the two are brother and sister, and so there isn't any sexual tension between the two despite the fact that they're in a bath together. The two are the bestest of buds, which stays true until the very end. Yeah, that part where Power dies isn't where she really dies. In Denji's fight with Makima, a lot of shit happens. Makima and a bunch of other women and guys, but no one cares about the guys, we care about the woman. Yeah, Makima pretty much jumps Denji, and whoever kills Denji gets a date with Makima, is how that interaction went down. This was the case, however, Denji kinda shit on all of them. Play the Doom music! But eventually, it gets out that Chainsawman, aka Denji, has killed the Gun Devil. The Gun Devil was basically the enemy of literally every nation ever, besides the US, of course, where it came from. Yeah, epic. And so people started to praise Chainsawman, calling him a hero. But the problem with that is, he gets weaker if people acknowledge him as a hero. He gets his power from people's fear. However, that doesn't apply now because he's considered a hero. Makima uses this open window to try and kill Denji, but that's when Power shows up. Power is assumed to be dead at this point because in one of the saddest and most abrupt moments of the series, she gets her torso blown off. However, Denji at one point ingested some of her blood, and that blood goes on to take form. She meets Pochita, and he asks her of a favor. Pochita will give her strength in exchange for helping Denji. And Power, of course, willingly obliges considering, it's Denji, her best bud. Denji's out right now because he just got stabbed with a spear made up of 1,000 years. And Power comes out his mouth as a devil. She may look different, but on the inside, it's still Power. As we can see, she makes comments that are just as loud and brash and confident and cool and hip as before. She even manages to take Makima off guard. She runs off with Denji, however is chased by Makima, who soon catches up to her. Makima tells her to be a good little dog and give Denji back, in which Power obliges because, it's in her nature to obey Makima, even proclaiming that the glory is hers. Usual Power activity. However, this time, she has a point of reflection. She remembers all her and Denji have been through, and that giving him to Makima right now would be the equivalent of selling him out. She couldn't do that to her now best friend, and so she takes off with Denji once again. She even questions herself when running away. She can't win against Makima. What hope does she have running away? However, one thing is clear to her. She can't give Denji to Makima. She eventually gets cornered by a bunch of Makima's goons, but somehow makes it alive. Barely, might I add. One thing is going through Power's mind as of right now, and that is Denji and his sake. There's no way she could let Denji die. Denji is her first friend after all. Before Power breathes her actual last breath, she and Denji have one last conversation inside Denji's consciousness. Power is happy to see Denji, but Makima's words still linger in Denji's mind. Denji still thinks that he doesn't deserve a normal life, and he's already gotten enough. Since he's met Makima, he's lived a great life with great people. He questions whether, there's a point in moving on, especially considering that he won't have Power anymore. Power initially mocks him for wanting to be with her so much, but when the brutal reality comes out of Denji's mouth, the two share a moment in silence. Power will no longer be with Denji for the rest of his life, and if he's gonna continue living, that's a burden he's gonna have to carry on his shoulders. Whether it be a burden that's stuck in his mind, or his actions that reflect the burden, it's gonna be there nonetheless. Devils don't die, they're transported to hell. As we saw when Denji was transported to hell and had to claw his way back out. Power says that them two not being together isn't gonna be a problem. Denji can go find the Blood Devil, and with enough influence, a new power is born. Not literally, of course. This power we're never gonna see again. But Denji will have a new best buddy. And so Power forms a contract with Denji. She'll give him all the blood she currently has as to revitalize him, but he has to go find her, so they can be best buddies again. With that last sentence, we have to say goodbye to our lovable little sister, as with that last hurrah of defiance, she passes on. For good, this time. Fujimoto is one heck of a fucking mangaka. I feel like this comment right here sums it up best. Shout out to you, the wisest owl. I know this shout out is gonna mean a lot. The last of the trio is Aki, and the story doesn't get much brighter from here. Aki? If this radiator doesn't shut the fuck. But yeah, Aki time. As a child, it's implied that his parents cared more for his younger brother. I'm not sure to what extent, but it seems as he was neglected. This would obviously lead to some resentment toward his brother. However, on an especially snowy day, he goes out for a walk. His little brother follows him out, and while Aki bickers at his younger brother at first, the two end up eventually having a snowball fight and enjoying themselves. Aki here seems to warm up to his brother and tells the little kid to go inside and get some gloves for the two of them. And that's when... yeah, that happens. From that point on, he swears that the Gun Devil will fall. Cut to around the end of the story. Aki grows very much attached to Power and Denji. Again, the three are like siblings. All his life, the only thing he's ever thought was revenge. How can he get closer to the Gun Devil? Himeno's death was a wake-up call to him. Aki's entire life up to now has been about revenge. Killing the Gun Devil was the only thing he ever had on his mind. Without the introduction of Power and Denji, that would likely have continued. Himeno's death had told him that if he keeps going down this path of revenge, the people closest to him are gonna end up dead. And as we discussed previously, he has more to live for than just revenge. He has Power and Denji now. In a conversation regarding this topic, Makima reveals to Aki that they already have the Gun Devil under control, and now it's not a matter of killing the Gun Devil, but of getting as many pieces of the Gun Devil's flesh as possible for Japan. The Gun Devil is a huge force to be reckoned with, and whoever has the most pieces of flesh regarding the Gun Devil is essentially the strongest country. This flat out tells Aki that everything he's done up to that point in order to kill the Gun Devil has been useless. His revenge has been useless. Nothing he's ever done in any way progressed him toward the imaginary goal of killing the Gun Devil. A life full of revenge isn't a life worth living, but the realization hits Aki a little too late. Aki goes through a bit of a crisis at this point, and so he goes to the only person he sees as a parental figure, Makima. Angel is a character in the story of another fiend, might I add, the Fiend of Time. Aki possesses a sword that has the capabilities of insane destructive power for the cost of Aki's life. Angel was the one who made that weapon. A while back, before any of the events of Chainsawman occurred, Angel was a fiend who was an outcast from society. However, he had met a group of people that would acknowledge him for who he actually is, rather than the implications that come with being a fiend. He enjoyed life with them, even found himself a lover. However, Makima had gotten word about how insane his power was, and pays him a visit. Next thing you know, he's accidentally killed everyone he holds dear to him. He recognizes Aki's situation as similar to his own, and realizes that if Aki continues to make deals with Makima, the same thing is going to happen to him. Aki asks Makima to keep Power and Denji out of harm's way. He even says that he'll give himself up for the cause. Makima soon asks Aki to then make a contract with her. Aki questions Makima, but Makima reassures him that she won't take no for an answer. Angel looks up at Aki with the realization of what's about to happen. Aki is going to not only lose his sense of self, becoming a slave in the process, but also everything he holds dear to him. From here on out, we don't get much information of what happened to Aki, but we do get cut to Power and Denji in their little apartment. That's when they get a ring at the door. Also, a ring at the phone. Makima tells them that the Gun Devil showed up unexpectedly, took over a dead body, and now is running loose. And Makima warns them that the Gun Devil is at the front door. Denji and Power both play this off as a joke, but when they open the door, Aki stands there to greet them. However, it's not the Aki that they once knew. Aki has become the one thing he sought to get rid of, the thing he dedicated his entire life to go kill. He's become the gun fiend, and now has to fight Chainsawman. Aki goes on a killing spree. However, something to note is that he hasn't lost consciousness. On the outside, he's having a brutal fight with Denji, but on the inside, he's having a little snowball fight. The exact snowball fight that he couldn't experience as a child. A snowball fight with a kid version of Denji instead of his brother, symbolizing the new brotherly bond the two share. Killing innocent civilians is just playful fun in Aki's mind, and the worst part about it is that this is the first time he's ever actually had proper fun. Not a hint of revenge in his mind, just having fun with Denji. However, on the outside, Denji has to make the conscious decision to whether let Aki continue to kill these people, or to kill Aki. Denji is now forced to kill Aki, and this devastating feeling of inevitable sorrow seeps into the delusion as Denji starts crying while in the snowball fight. With that, the snowball fight ends, and his brother comes back to finish up the game of cash that they never got to play. However, in the real world, Denji has made his choice and Aki is no more. Aki, at one point in the story, had made a contract with the Future Devil. This allowed Aki to see a couple seconds into the future with his right eye. However, all contracts with the devil come at a cost. This one was cost-free, as the Future Devil only wished to see how Aki dies. Apparently, it was so horrific that he wanted to see it firsthand. It was only until after Aki's death that it was mentioned that Aki's death wasn't going to end in the worst possible way for Aki, but for Denji. That marks the end of the gun fiend, who we better know as Aki Hayakawa. Chainsawman is not a happy and giddy manga. It's actually, quite the opposite. Power started off as a devil hobo who hated both humans and devils alike, but ended up growing compassionate to those who were around her. This stood true even if it meant defying Makima's orders. Aki was a man who solely focused on revenge. Nothing was going to get in the way of him and the gun devil. However, he too realizes that a life of only revenge isn't a life worth living. A man who now has the compassion to sacrifice himself for the betterment of his two best friends. And finally, we have Denji, who finally learns what a fulfilling life is like, as well as learning that he must be more mature for someone in his situation. And also how boobs feel. He had always wagged his tail for Makima, and he let the thought of Makima's affection cloud his judgment. He learns that he needs to take an accountability for his actions. Though it is too late to change the past, he can always impact the future. One such way he can atone is with the reincarnation of the Control Devil. Kishibe finds the lost child in China, and so entrusts it to Denji. Denji was once a lost child, seeking comfort and validation. He now faces a child of similar circumstances, who he now has to guide toward a life worth living, because if he doesn't, the deaths of both Aki and Power would have been in vain. That was my take on the main trio of the Chainsawman series. A story regarding a family that was never meant to be. And with that being said, I'll see you ugly fat fucks another time.